So there was a physician from Massachusetts General by the name of David King. David King happened to just finish the marathon, and then when the explosion went off, he was able to come back. I'm not sure the time, but he was there when all that happened. That all evolved to him doing a report on basically what worked and what didn't work. And what they found was essentially is that the biggest thing to maximize odds of survival in a situation like a tight event, any kind of special event, is bystanders, empowering bystanders to do something. If you guys follow like EMS 1, EMS World, GEMS, Fire 1, all those, you'll see that there's a lot lately on something, see something, do something. Have you guys seen it? Anybody seen that? I can't mean it's been a failure, obviously. See something, do something is essentially is if you see somebody, if you're in a situation like that where people are hurt and you see something, right? Instead of just like running away, do something. You know, it's kind of like they're trying to really kind of draw some parallels to cardiac arrest now, right? So there's a lot, not just the efficacy of actually doing compressions only, but what happened. One of the biggest things about that, you guys know, I mean, maybe it's folklore, maybe it's not, but what I think when a lot of people were pulled as far as first responders came, and why did you not do CPR? They were afraid they were going to do something wrong, right? So by being afraid they're going to do something wrong, they did nothing at all. Whereas if they would have simply just done compressions, right, they at least would have kept mechanical motion, they would have kept some exchange going on, and the odds of survival probably would have been a lot better. So you know, there's some evolution to compression going. And that wasn't, I mean, there's a lot of studies behind it as well, but a lot of it came to actually empowering bystanders to do something and make a difference. So that's kind of the same theory now. We're trying to go towards, as well as AEDs. We see AEDs everywhere, right? We know because of AEDs that odds of survival from cardiac arrest, witnessed arrest, have gone up, right? I mean, you guys hopefully can attest to that.
Absolutely.
And there's been a huge push to get AEDs everywhere. Now, it's obviously we're trying to keep AEDs batteries charged. Now people are trying to struggle with the funding for that, and the fresh pads. But issues go the same thing with tourniquets. If something happens and a crazy guy walks into a high school basketball game and starts opening fire, there's going to be a lot of phone calls going for 911, right? But so that's going to take some staging of resources. Police may come in first. We now know we can go in the warm zone in some areas, not everywhere yet. So police have to go in and clear before you come in. So you're looking at this window of survival that's slowly closing because people just aren't there. Whereas if the people who are actually in the gymnasium could actually have the resources they needed to actually do effective hemorrhage control, that the odds of survival would naturally just increase. You guys agree? Disagree? Okay. So that's really where the Hartford consensus came in, is that Dr. King is involved, a gentleman by the name of Dr. Hunt, Clifford Hunt, who's actually at the White House, pulled together everybody to get this consensus, and then Hartford consensus 3, and they basically said it will empower bystanders to survive, help others survive. And there's 3 types of basically responders now. There's what's called an immediate responder. There is a professional first responder, and then there's a trauma professional. The immediate responder is just generally somebody who happens to be in the area where the explosion or the active shooting takes place. They're the ones that are immediately able to do something. It could just be a bystander. And they know, everybody knows, if you've been in a situation where something bad is going on, if you just simply give simple orders to people, I mean, when you guys are fighting a fire, right? How many people really want to help? There's a lot of people with cameras now and phones, but if you told somebody, I need this car moved, right? Are they going to go find the owner of that car? Or are they going to just pick a car up and move it themselves? I mean, generally they'll do what they got to do to help you guys because they want to help. Nobody wants to be powerless. So that's kind of the same situation. So Hartford Consensus 3 is to help bystanders to increase survival by actually just doing something. And there's a lot of psychology there, but that's basically it. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to try and do a simulation, just kind of like a small exercise of what this may look like, right? We're going to do it at a really small scale. And all of you happen to be first responders. Unfortunately for this kind of exercise, I'm not going to get the natural, like, first time I've seen something, first time I'm doing something. Maybe it's been a while since you guys have actually done some exercises, so maybe it's going to be fresh for you. But what we're going to do is the idea is to try to figure out when something happens bad, and it happens to be an event. It could just be a bunch of kids, a bunch of people standing around listening to somebody talk. If something bad happens, all it takes is one first responder, somebody who is a leader in that group, to empower others to do something to save somebody. And if you give those tools, then the necessary tools, again, odds increase, because you're not trying to figure out where you're going to get a belt, or a bra, or a bandana, or tire stuff, or whatever it may be that you're going to use to try to create a fashion tourniquet. So I'm going to kind of go over some things. We have, in this pilot here, we have some newer things that have come out. We designed for especially law enforcement that work in environments where tourniquets are not really popular because they tend to be off-putting to people. That creates fear. There are agencies around this world that still worry more about who they're serving and what they think about the message that the law enforcement officer is actually delivering. So they feel that actually having a tourniquet on their person invokes fear. So therefore, don't wear a tourniquet because we don't want people to think that something really bad's going on. And that assumes everybody knows exactly what that thing is on their belt. But so there's a new thing. There's tourniquet belts now. I have cats. I have softy wides. If you guys all use one of those. If you guys use a cat, anybody know cat? No? Oh, this could be really good. Softy wide?
No.
SWAT T? Oh, this is actually going to be much better than I thought. Okay, so this would be good. We'll take it easy on it, I promise. So the whole goal is, if you understand the need for a tourniquet, generally, what's the general need for a tourniquet?
Stop bleeding?
Just stopping severe hemorrhage, right? Just hemorrhage control. What we've learned, if anybody was Boy Scouts or taking basic first aid class, is that you use direct pressure first, right? Try to stop the bleeding. After the direct pressure, what's next? Anybody? Alright, so we're going to take some gauze, and we're going to put that on there, right? So we're going to give the blood something to anchor into to start to actually clot, because it doesn't clot so well to the bottom of your hand, and besides, you're going to have to remove your hand at some point. So then you're going to put some gauze on there, you're going to put some pressure on it. If it continues to bleed through, you're going to put more gauze, and keep pushing until eventually a clot forms, so you get a tampon successfully established. Whereas if that doesn't work, then if you have what's called that's a compressible injury. If you have a non-compressible injury, we're going to use something like a tourniquet. And Boy Scout style would be to take off my neckerchief, grab a stick, and actually fashion what's called a windlass improvised tourniquet. So I'm going to use my neckerchief, put it around the leg above the injury. Let's say I was out cutting wood with a saw, and it slips off the log, and I go straight through my thigh. Well, it's pretty hard. That could be a pretty significant injury to try to control with just compression. So I'm going to take off my something, rip some fabric. I'm going to put it up high into my groin or up the top of my thigh, and create a windlass and actually tighten it down until the blood flow stops at the injury. Does that make sense? So this is all basic. That's improvised tourniquets. So we had Colonel Mabry and a few others out of Mogadishu, Black Hawk Down, right? We all know that. A lot of guys died there. They believed that didn't need to die. They had effective hemorrhage control training and devices that they hadn't, in other wars. In Vietnam, for some reason, at that point, they started to think, even before that tourniquets would actually do what? Anybody know? Do we know why we stopped using tourniquets for a while?
Lose a limb.
Lose a limb, right? There was this whole thing that if you put a tourniquet on, that you were destined to no longer have that extremity. Well, a lot of things have changed. A lot of it has to do with the time between the injury and the point of definitive care where they can actually release the tourniquet and control the hemorrhage. But so a lot of that's changed as well. But it was mostly just folklore. Again, we're doing a lot of evidence-based stuff now. So what happened was Colonel Mabry and a few others. There's a lot of stories of how it led up to it. North American Rescue came out with a product called a CAT tourniquet, which is a combat application tourniquet, or CAT, C-A-T. That's the basic tourniquet that there is designed to go on one-handed. So if I'm still getting shot at, but I happen to have a CAT, and you unfortunately have become injured, right? I still need to take care of the guys that are shooting at us, right? Because if I run over to you, most likely I'm going to get shot too. So my idea is for me to be able to take my tourniquet and throw it to you and tell you to put it on. So you can use it one-handed and put the tourniquet on and still be able to stop the hemorrhage from the gunshot to your arm. So that was the whole idea, is a one-handed application. Then some other products, a lot of other products come out. So that was the tourniquets. So now we're leading to the back when we talk about the Hartford consensus. Hartford consensus basically is taking that to a whole other step. Is that if I give a bystander a very, very simple tool, such as an improvised tourniquet that they're all familiar with, and we're in a situation where they can apply it, then they're going to save lives. So that's where we're at right now. In the Shello case is actually a simulation. This is actually the prototype of what we're calling is Jimmy Tourniquet. Is our improvised tourniquet, commercialized improvised tourniquet, and in this case are 75 of those Jimmy tourniquets. So we're referring to this as the Jimmy Tourniquet Immediate Response Set. The idea is that these will be placed in strategic locations so that if something happened here on the street, that within very close proximity to it, that you'll be able to go get that and bring it out. Now, is that something you're going to see on every street corner in the future? No. It's a really kind of a special event kind of situation. You may actually see it in corporate centers and colleges and places where there's a lot of people and a high threat level. So basically just opens this up, and here are the tourniquets. So the whole idea is that I can easily obtain this set and then bring it to the center where everything's at and start distributing these to able-bodied survivors and tell them to do something. See something, do something. What it is actually a triangle bandage cravat with a specially designed torsion rod, and then it happens to be 2 zip ties. The 2 zip ties for somebody who's familiar with it, allows the rescuer to actually do the windlass, and they use the zip ties to hold the windlass in place. You don't put the zip ties on too tight, you leave them kind of loose so that you have the ability to transition up and down, which is basically the next level of care. The next wave of first responders could come and then do a pressure dressing and then slowly let go of the windlass and refuse that leg and see if it holds. So you don't have the tourniquet on or any longer than necessary. So anyway, so that's what this set is. Anybody have any questions? No? Nothing. Okay. All right. So that's what this is. So tonight we're going to just do a simulation and just see how that works. And the goal is to really understand how this would work. We kind of create a visual demonstration of that. So it's helpful for people to see that, so it's not something foreign. The whole idea is hopefully there will be a first responder, a law enforcement officer, a park ranger, somebody that's going to be within that intersection or vicinity of that explosion that's going to survive and is going to be aware of the existence of these things. That's the whole thing. You're going to have a lot of people are going to look and see, like, what is that thing, right? Just out of curiosity. There's a lot of hurdles that have to be going over. These things that have to be fought out. And number one is security. So when you're bringing that into a situation like with the Pope visit, it's how do you secure this case within security protocols so that when they do sweeps that they don't have to keep checking it over and over again, that somebody doesn't actually utilize this to their benefit to defeat our security measures. The new Softy Wide is they're retailing right now for about $45. If you buy them, if you get them through a group purchase, you can get them for a lot less than that. But I mean, not a lot less, maybe $38. But that's still a lot, right? So now when you're trying to create a case with as many as you can possibly fit, and you have a finite budget, and you want to help as many people as possible and improve odds, that's where the problem was. Is that unfortunately we're not at a point where these can be put on there. You could find these, but you're going to be jeopardizing. How do you know it's going to work when you finally get to the situation where you need it, right? It's going to fail when you need it, and that's not what we want.
Until EMS gets
that's the whole thing. Is that's where they're wrestling with now, and that's a great question because it's do you let everybody know or do you not? Because it's not. It's obviously when you look at something, you're going to see something that doesn't look like it belongs there. If you write tourniquets on the outside of the box, what are 1,000 7-year-old people going to think, right? I mean, are they going to feel safe, or is it going to be, man, I have this conversation with my wife all the time. Like we can do things to actually protect ourselves, right? But not all of us want to be reminded of the terror that exists, right? I mean, it's unfortunately that's the life we live in. So, if I put a box and say tourniquets on the wall, if I do a news broadcast and say we'll be ready for the post visit, if we've got tourniquets at every intersection, I mean, how are people going to feel? Right. Number one is as a federal official, what does that do to your feelings of you having this under control? It means that something may possibly actually slip through, right? And you have to admit that there might be something that slips through, and that you're going to have to deal with it. That's really a hard pill for people to swallow. Think about it. I mean, nobody wants to ever think we're going to fail, but we all know that we make mistakes, and that there are people who have a lot more resources and a lot more determination than we do. If this one person just has all his world is to do one thing. Every waking hour is to make this one thing happen. As a federal official, you still have a wife. You may have children. You may have a husband. You may have. I mean, your life has variables. So things happen, and it's not their fault. But so we need to think about that, and that's unfortunately somebody has to do that. So as first responders, we kind of want to know what our resources are. Not everybody lives like that, and thank God that they do, because they can relax. There are people that are able to unplug, but there's a lot of
That's a lot of beer.
It takes a lot of beer to get there. It does. But there's a lot of us that can't unplug, and you kind of it just becomes an obsessive nature. But so anyway, that's kind of a good question. Who knows about it? Who knows these things? We started out with really the Park Service for this exercise. Everything's in place right now. It's all a matter of whether funding goes. How much do you think this case costs?
Just the case itself.
No, I mean this set. How much do you think a single set costs? I want everybody to tell me what you think it costs. Sorry, on the left. $200?
$175.
How much? $175.
The content's right up $50.
150.
150?
175.
The case alone, to buy it in Pelican, is $150. The material, just the material alone for each of those tourniquets is $3. It comes out to about $3.25. So the torsion rod is $1.25. Zip ties 10 cents. So do the math. So you're at $6.50 essentially per unit. Now multiply it times 75. Add on $150, and there's your cost. The cost. So you understand the effectiveness study. How much do you think an effectiveness study costs? Just to prove that something will work. Just shy about $20,000. So when you take that $20,000, and that all has to be broken down, so then you add another 75, 80 cents on each unit, right? And then, so now you're at $8. And then there's profit that somebody should get paid, right? In this case, just to get it out there, we're actually taking essentially nothing, just to get it out there. So, but anyway, it comes in. The total cost of these are right at $840 for a set. So now take that, put softy wides in there for cats, and you multiply it times 3, so 3.5, and you reduce the contents by 2 thirds. So anyway, that's just a little math and economics for you. But so anyway, yeah. So you can imagine when people are like, okay, this is exactly what I want. Here's what I have to have in it. Okay, great. $840. What? So you think for 200 cases, do the math. It's a big chunk of change, and that's just cost. So anyway, was it helpful? Yeah. All right.